There is an African proverb that says a man who carries fire in his hands should not complain when the heat burns the village. And today, Edwin Sifuna, the Nairobi senator, has equally joined the demonstrators who are crying of the increase in fuel prices. Welcome to Kenya Lens Media, where we bring you news updates as they break, and kindly if you are new here, consider subscribing. Now, the Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna has joined the demonstrators and has launched a strong attack against the government following the latest increase in fuel prices, accusing the administration of exposing Kenyans to avoidable economic suffering before later promising relief measures. The criticism comes at a time when many families across the country are already struggling with the high cost of transport, food and other basic needs, while others are in the streets to demonstrate, asking the government to lower the fuel prices. Speaking through his official X account on Monday, May 18, 2026, Sifuna questioned the government's handling of the monthly fuel review process, and the senator was reacting to remarks made by the Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi, who said that the government could hold further discussions once the President William Ruto returns from Azerbaijan. According to Mbadi, the planned meeting is expected to explore possible interventions aimed at cautioning Kenyans from the rising fuel costs. But Sifuna says that the government's response is coming too late. The Nairobi senator argued that fuel pricing reviews are predictable monthly events and that the government should already have systems in place to protect citizens before prices rise. He accused the administration of repeatedly allowing economic pain first, then responding later with delayed solutions. His remarks have quickly added political weight to an issue that is already causing visible tension across the country, with the youths also joining the matatu owners to demonstrate and also to paralyze the transport system. According to his message in social media, Sifuna said, "What sort of logic is this really? Fuel pricing is a predictable monthly event, and every single month we know the price will be reviewed. Shouldn't you protect Kenyans when conducting the review in the first instance? We are seeing a pattern here where Kasongo throws us pain first, then reconvenes to give us Panadol." That is a statement that was written by Sifuna, maybe to join those who are in the streets. For many Kenyans, fuel prices affect nearly every aspect of daily life, and from public transport to food distribution, from farming to small businesses, fuel remains one of the most important drivers of the national economy. Any increase at the pump is often felt immediately in homes, markets and workplaces, and the latest fuel adjustment announced by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, commonly known as EPRA, has intensified these concerns. Under the new review, the price of super petrol increased by 16 shillings and also 65 cents per litre. Diesel prices rose even higher, jumping by 46 shillings and also 29 cents per litre. Kerosene prices, however, remained unchanged. The new prices took effect at midnight and also will remain in force for the next 30 days. In Nairobi, motorists are now paying 214 shillings and 25 cents per litre for super petrol. Diesel is retailing at 242 shillings and 92 cents per litre. Kerosene is selling at 152 shillings and 78 cents. In Mombasa, the revised prices place super petrol at 211 shillings and 9 cents per litre. Diesel is retailing at 239 shillings and 64 cents. Kerosene stands at 149 shillings and 49 cents. The sharp rise in diesel prices has become a major concern because diesel powers much of the country's transport and commercial activity. From long-distance trucks to public service vehicles, diesel costs more or rather often influence the price of goods and also services nationwide. As a result, many Kenyans now fear another wave of inflation in the coming weeks, and the impact has already begun to show. Matatu operators and their drivers across the country have reacted angrily to the fuel increase, describing the latest review as unfair and unsustainable. Several transport operators have accused the government of ignoring the economic realities facing ordinary workers and also commuters. Their frustration has now spilled into action, and nationwide protests and strike activities began on Monday, disrupting transport services in several major towns and cities. In some areas, commuters were left stranded as matatus stayed off roads, and businesses also reported interruptions, with delays affecting workers, traders, and customers trying to move from one place to another. The matatu sector says the rising fuel prices are making operations too expensive, and operators argue that maintaining routes under the new diesel prices is becoming increasingly difficult without increasing fares. And that concern is especially significant because millions of Kenyans depend on public transport every day to get to work, school, hospitals, and also markets. Transport disruptions often create a chain reaction that affects productivity and household spending. Some matatu circles have already suspended operations in protest. Others are demanding immediate government intervention to reduce pressure on the transport sector. The operators are also questioning April's decision to raise diesel prices for the second consecutive month while keeping kerosene prices unchanged. They argue that the move places a heavier burden on commercial transport operators and businesses that rely on diesel-powered machinery and vehicles. The latest developments are also adding pressure to the government at the sensitive political and economic moment. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has already warned that rising inflation could negatively affect the country's broader economic outlook. At the same time, the government maintains that global oil market pressures and taxation challenges continue to affect local fuel pricing. Officials argue that international market conditions have limited the country's options, and even so, public frustration continues to grow. For many households, the cost of living remains one of the biggest concerns. An increase in fuel prices often leads to higher transport fares, more expensive food, and increased operational costs for small businesses. In many homes, families are already adjusting spending habits to cope with economic pressure, and transporting vegetables, grains, and other products from rural areas to urban markets are likely to face higher costs. Manufacturers and retailers may also experience rising distribution expenses. Economists have often warned that fuel prices can quickly influence inflation because transport costs affect nearly every supply chain in the economy. The political response to the crisis is also becoming sharper. Sifuna, who serves as the Secretary General of ODM and associated with the Linda Mwananchi faction of the party, says the government should focus more on preventive economic measures instead of reacting after public pressure builds. His criticism reflects a wider debate now emerging within the political space over how the government is handling the economy, and the issue of the fuel pricing has become more than just an economic concern. It is now evolving into a test of public confidence, especially among citizens already feeling the weight of the high living costs. Across the social media platforms, many Kenyans have been expressing anger, frustration, and concern over what the future could hold if prices continue to rise. For workers earning fixed incomes, every increase in transport and food prices reduces household purchasing power, and for businesses, especially small enterprises, rising operational costs threaten profits and also sustainability. And for commuters, daily travel is becoming more expensive at a time when many are already struggling financially. The government now faces growing pressure to provide clear answers and practical solutions, and many Kenyans are waiting to see whether the promised discussions, often President William Ruto's return from Azerbaijan, will result in immediate relief measures. Others are demanding broader reforms in how fuel pricing and taxation are managed. Meanwhile, transport disruptions and public anger continue to expose the depth of frustration spreading across the country. The coming days may prove critical as authorities attempt to calm tensions while balancing economic realities and political pressure. For now, the fuel crisis has once again reminded the country how deeply energy prices affect everyday life. And from the streets of Nairobi to the ports of Mombasa, or to the ports of Mombasa, from market traders and to matatu drivers, the effects are already being felt. And as the debate grows louder, millions of Kenyans continue to wait for relief in the economy where every shilling now matters more than ever before. And in Kenya, the rising cost of fuel is no longer just an economic statistic, it is a daily struggle shaping the lives, choices, and also survival of ordinary citizens across the nation. That is all for today from Kenya Lens Media. We bring you news updates as they break. Kindly, if you are new here, consider subscribing.